Welcome everyone to GLF Africa and to the first Youth Daily Show of the event. The Youth Daily Shows are short 30-minute sessions designed to share youth experience, expertise, and to inspire youth people all over the world with amazing leaders that are driving change. We will have 4 Youth Daily Shows in total, 2 per day, and so this is just but the beginning. My name is Kaluki Paul Mutuku, and I'm the Africa Regional Director at Youth for Nature. This Youth Daily Show was organized by the Youth in Landscapes Initiative and Youth for Nature, a global youth-led organization that aims at empowering young people to lead on nature and climate action. Today's session, we want to hear and learn from stories of young restoration leaders in Africa. We will explore how young people across Africa are getting involved in restoration and also how their journeys, they started their journeys rather, the challenges they have faced and the solutions they really have found. But before starting off, we want to hear from you all, and we'd love to hear from those of you participating today on the event app, Hover. To participate in our session poll, please select the poll tab on this session page, where you're streaming right now within Hover, and it's located next to the chat and Q&A box tabs. The question we'd like to invite you to answer at this time is, what do you think are the biggest challenges for young people to partake in restoration projects? Tell us in just one word. If you're also joining us from social media, we'd still love to hear from you. So feel free to answer the same question in a comment. And while everyone does that, I also would like to invite to share with you some videos on our most recent video challenge on social media. Thank you to all of you who participated. We really enjoyed watching and hearing from each and every one of you on everyone's project that has been happening on the ground. So for now, we'd like to highlight here some of the best videos that we have received.
Hello everyone, this is Adagio from South Coast, Kenya, a climate activist who is passionate about environment conservation.
Hello, my name is Olper Joseph and I'm from Uganda, and I'm part of the awesome team here at Priceless Farms, which has developed this landscape which you see here over the past 6 years.
My name is Adagio and I'm from Nigeria.
My project focuses in promoting dryland restoration through engaging schools and communities in tree planting exercises. I also use my social media platforms to create awareness concerning climate justice. The mission of the project is to ensure that our degraded coastal forests have been restored, whereby we have been working closely with the government institutions, the NGOs, communities, and schools to achieve this goal.
And currently we have a project which is ongoing where we are encouraging the community to grow a specific type of tree. So the tree is called Melia volkensi. And currently in my hands here, I have about 100 seeds. And we believe that these 100 seeds are enough for a household to meet their firewood needs.
And this non-formally protected area supports community people from shelter to food. And my friends and I will always go out for fruit hunting.
So far, my team has managed to plant over 5,000 trees within this region. In addition to that, we have managed to establish a tree nursery consisting of 3,000 seedlings which were planted in the degraded forest site.
So currently we've been able to give out about 50,000 seeds to the community around us, and they are planting it.
So far, I and my team have been able to identify 40 non-formally protected areas in Benue State.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time, and I do look forward to seeing you at GLF Africa come June. Bye.
Wow, wow, wow. It is so wonderful to see so many young people acting for restoration. Thank you so much once again to all of you who have participated and are bringing amazing change in your communities. Now, our speakers will probably have familiar faces as they were in the video just now. I'm happy to invite our first speaker, Oluport Joseph, to join me here and to share more about the project he has been involved in. Mr. Olpot, if you can take the stage, please.
Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? My name is Olpot Joseph, and I am the Assistant Director of Priceless Farms, and this is my restoration journey. So growing up in the village of Ngora, I was always fascinated by food, its preparation right from its planting to harvesting until it's on the plate. Playing in the furrows during the rainy planting season was just as interesting as playing under the bright night moonlight in the harvesting season. Food punctuated the very rhythm of our life. Even a casual stroll through the bushes yielded a berry or two. At university, I read human nutrition and dietetics. It was during my study that I came to seriously consider the connection between our health and the food we eat. It dawned on me that to improve our health, one had to improve what was being produced. This was what led me to join Priceless Farms. Priceless Farms is an organic permaculture farm that specializes in growing African herbs. At Priceless Farms, I was introduced to the concept of observation in permaculture. I observed that forested landscapes have more biodiversity, soil moisture, wild edible plants, birds, and worm activity, and were generally less prone to infections than non-forested landscapes. Such landscapes are more stable during droughts, floods, and fires. Thus, far from my humble aspirations to grow food strictly as medicine, I realized I was getting into something much bigger: restoration. This realization brought with it its very first of my challenges on my new path. I had to acquire new knowledge in restoration. The knowledge I'd come with as a nutritionist, I soon learned that it was little inadequate in sustaining my new career path. The harsh climatic conditions of the project site was another force I had to contend with. I enrolled for an introductory certificate to permaculture design and took on the farm director as one of my mentors. I also participated in the Youth in Landscapes camp as well as JLF Accra in Ghana, which further added to my knowledge and my network. For the harsh climate, trees have a huge impact on developing microclimates. Hence, every year, trees, because our project site has proved that microclimates can make living possible even in harsh climates. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Olupot, for this wonderful, wonderful introduction. And now from East Africa, I wish to take us to West Africa. And I'd like to invite our next speaker, Patience Adagio, who is a PhD candidate at the University of Agriculture at Makurdi, Benue State in Nigeria. Patience, please take the floor.
Thank you, and hello, everyone. My name is Patience, and I'm from Nigeria. My restoration story is a tale of non-formally protected areas. I grew up in a small community in Nigeria called Asa, and in these small communities, my community is surrounded by forest patches. These forests provide so much support to my community and neighboring community. And also the forest is like, it helps to shed a major water that serve as a source of water to my community and everyone living within that area. And in this community, during the dry season, we usually do not have water. So these major streams serve as a savior to the whole community, which the forest help in protecting the water and keeping it safe and clean for everyone to use. And this forest also, as kids growing up, we usually go to this forest to get fruits. My favorite fruit is the African star apple. So my friends and I will always go out to get all those fruits and eat. And in this community forest, there are some that women are not allowed to enter. Like for the stream, there are some segments that women are not allowed to enter. And some is majorly for men and the other majorly for women. And the other one is a sacred water where no one is allowed to fish, not even fetch water. And it was also said that if you fish those waters, the fish in the water, you will die. So majorly, this originates or spot at my interest in reading forestry and wildlife management. And also going back to my community after study, I discovered that this this forest area is fast disappearing, and especially this forest that I so much share ties with is gone. We have buildings on top of those. Even in the water plains, they have buildings, construction. The forest patches are now becoming another community entirely. So this is very disheartening.
To just cut you short a bit, we only seeing the first slide on your presentation.
Yes, my slide is not moving from my, okay.
It's not moving, thank you.
Okay. So these are some of the forest fruits we get from my community. We have the monkey cola, we have the velvet tamarind, and my favorite is the African star apple. It contains a lot of vitamin C. And these forest areas are fast disappearing, majorly because of population increase, which is leading to agricultural expansion and a lot of deforestation. And if you see the other slide is another community forest where it has been converted to a market. Other areas are also converted to schools and other buildings. And this is very disheartening. So I decided to work on these non-formally protected areas as my PhD, part of my PhD research work. And so far we have been able to identify 40 non-formally protected areas. And some of the lists, we got a list from the government of non-formally protected areas, but they were not quite inclusive enough. So like my community forest where I grew up in, I can't even find the name of the forest on their list. So there are other forest areas that we have been able to include on that list. So at the end of the day, we intend to have like a comprehensive list of all the non-formally protected areas in Benue State, and so that we can monitor which one is available, or which one is still on site, or which one has been extended. So for now, we have been able to classify 40 and then classify them into the sub non-formally protected areas and on the sub non-formally protected areas. We are also assessing the forest cover change in this non-formally protected areas, and then working with community people to regenerate or restore this landscape for use. And so far, we've been engaging with community people. We got a buy-in of a community to which agreed to that they agreed that they want to restore the place, but we have one challenge. The challenge is that in that particular area now they have farmers and herders crisis, so we are not able to start the project immediately. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patience, and really very interesting to hear more about the project you both are involved in and how you got started. And now, before we go into a short conversation with our speakers, we would love to hear and see the answers from the audience following our question today. And just to see some of the challenges that young people are facing while engaging in restoration in Africa, I see funding is coming off strongly. And as I'm trying to read others, I can't see. Cost of land, there's no guidance when young people engaging in restoration works, the issues of land tenure and government approvals. Wow, a lot of genuine challenges that young people are facing. Thank you so much for participating in our poll question. And Oluport's Patience to you. Do you have any comments on the challenges mentioned here? And also, do you have any personal experience facing and overcoming some of those challenges? If we could start with Patience and then Oluport.
Okay, thank you. I will start with the funding is major challenge in restoration. Like for my own aspect, since it was part of my PhD work, I have a funding to start up the work. But since we do not have any funding for getting seedlings, we use the community people to work with us. So we go into the forest, get seeds, then use them, the community people, in creating a nursery. So we also use them in the planting. So it's less expensive than using external hands. So that's another way to overcome funding issue. You can mobilize locally And we also ask for support from families and friends and key stakeholders in the community, like any allies in the community that might be interested in the project. We can solicit funds from the person and also apply for other funds and see what comes up.
Thank you, Patience. Olupot, how about you?
All right, so for me also, let me talk about funding for a bit before I tackle other challenges mentioned. So yeah, funding can become a very big challenge, but at the end of the day, you know, like we have a project where I wanted to plant 1 million trees within the community in 5 years. So buying 1 million trees takes a lot of time. But then we realized that this tree actually produces seed every year. So we shifted our focus from trees to seeds, you know. So even you in your restoration, if you're finding it hard that you can't access funds for something, you move to the seeds because the seeds will be 10 times cheaper or even 100 times cheaper. Then I saw someone say the lack of skills. You know, even me when I began my project, I'm a nutritionist by profession. But at the end of the day, when I went into this project and saw that this is what we can be able to achieve, I actually said, let me learn, you know, so invest in learning those skills. And like not just by being part of, let's say, school, you can also go, if you see any project going on in your community, you can be part of it. Where I started from, I first volunteered for 6 months. You know, 6 months is not a short time to volunteer in a project. But right now, I am one of the key management people trying to actually push this thing forward. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you both for those. Thank you, Liz. Everyone is facing similar challenges, and it's a question of how do we overcome them and how do you innovate around them. And moving on, considering how demanding it could be at times to start or join a restoration project, do you care to share with us the 3 first steps or some tips that young people should follow if they want to get involved in restoration works? At this time around, Olupot and then Patience.
Okay, thank you very much, Kaluki. So for me, I would say start from where you are. You know, let's say if you love fruits, just go out and plant a few fruits wherever you're staying, even if it's not your land, but at least you're planting something for yourself. So just start from where you are, because most times we want to be involved in very big projects, but the fact is everything you see which is big had a starting point. So never know, if you start today from something small, in 10 years time you'll be somewhere much, much bigger. Then another thing is draw on your experiences. Like in my story, I shared that I kept looking back at how our food systems were when we were growing up. And then when I went to the farm, they were actually taking it on another level by including restoration to it, like meaningful restoration towards it. So I don't know what your experiences are, let's say growing up, but it is something you can tap into. And then the final one is explore. Because, I know many young people have been chasing white collar jobs. You have this office job, you have this job so you're afraid of what people are going to say. So you don't want to explore. I can tell you for a fact, much as I have a degree, but when I go to the farm, you find me in those boots, you find me holding that hoe, you find me getting that panga to prune some trees. Because at the end of the day, this is what I'm now involved in. But again, when I come back to office, I still do whatever is needed to be done in office. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think I'm getting something. Start where you are, and just to get the job done and develop the interest. These are very interesting comments from you. Patience, Olupot. Patience, do you wish to give your comments on this?
Yes, thank you. For me, I would say you should identify a problem, like a problem the community is facing, and of course, you have to be interested in that problem. So when you find a problem, you'll be able to now map stakeholders that you can work with in solving that problem. So if you map your stakeholders, engage with your stakeholders and get their thoughts and views and knowledge about those issues, then you start planning how to solve the issue at hand. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patience. Identify those problems, identify your stakeholders, map them out, and see how you can best bring them on board and work with them. Thank you both for those critical comments on this. But then moving on, I know when we started after the poll results, we talked more about the challenges and also to both of you what you've been challenging as you started your restoration projects, right? But maybe also a point of bringing this to some hope. What are some of the opportunities, for instance, learning opportunities or networking or anything else that young people might maybe can expect when they're joining or when they're, thinking of starting their own restoration programs? Patience, you wish to start?
I would say that you should just bear in mind that the journey is not going to be a very smooth journey because you not have everything the way you want to have it. Sometimes you go to the community, you fix a date with them, and you go there and they are not available for that particular time. You have to refuse another meeting. Apart from those challenges you will see during your journey, you also get to learn a lot of things from those community people. They have good knowledge of their landscape that you can learn from them. And for me, going into this community, I enjoy working with community people than people in the city because they tend to be more understanding and considerate at some point. Then you get to meet a lot of people, learn from them, and more importantly, you are learning from the job because every landscape have its own peculiarity. So you're learning from this landscape, you go to the other landscape, you still have a lot of things to learn from the other landscape. So it's a continuous learning. And with those learning, you can also go into other projects that you will use those skills and knowledge to apply in them.
Indeed, indeed. Oluport, how about you? What are some of the opportunities for young people to engage in restoration?
Okay, thank you very much, Kaluki. So before I talk about the opportunities, I just want to let young people know that restoration is a very slow process, So if you're going into it, go into it for the long haul. So the opportunities which I see in restoration, one, right now we are in the decade of ecosystem restoration. This is by the UN. And it's estimated to attract at least $1 trillion over the next 10 years. So one of the biggest issues you're having is funding. But if you're going to actually tap into these kind of opportunities, you need to have something to show. So if you started now, let's say 3-4 years the time down the road, you should actually be able to access some of this kind of funding. Then the other one is you'll be unlocking new economies, new industries. Right now, most young people are saying we are destroying the environment, we are killing the environment. But on the side of restoration, actually, we shall be creating new industries. Let me give you an example. Where I work it's a farm and they are measuring into African herbs. So the global herbal industry is currently about $5 billion. But by 2030, 2040, it's expected to grow to about 500 billion. Which means that people are becoming more cautious about their health, and there's an opportunity there. So you may say, let me come into restoration from a different angle, but these are the opportunities which you find along the way. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And now we also want to hear from our, audience and really, for everyone watching and interacting in the chat. And so let's first get the first question from our audience. To you, Oluport, Patience. Someone is asking whether bottom-up approach is more effective than top-down approaches when it comes to restoration works. Oluport?
Definitely, I'll go with bottom-up. Working firsthand with these communities, they know a lot of knowledge. Like they have so much they know. So at the end of the day, when they tell you that this tree will not work in this area, they know already. So sometimes people come with restoration projects saying that, oh, we are going to plant this, we are going to plant this. I can give a case in point. We went and planted eucalyptus where the farm is. But it's a semi-arid place, and eucalyptus is a tree that grows in, which needs a lot of water. 10 acres all died. But imagine if we had actually involved the community prior to starting that project. Maybe they would have recommended us to plant what we are now planting because they know the trees which work in those areas. So 100% bottom approach is the way to go.
Thank you so much. Patience, what do you think? Top-down or bottom-up approach for restoration works?
Bottom-up approach for me, because if community people are not involved in any project, the sustainability of the project is not visible. You have to involve them and engage them in every step of the way. They have to be involved in it. They have to own the project so that it can work.
Thank you indeed. Communities at the center of restoration works. And a quick one as we come to the top of the hour, how can we get financial partners to do scale up for landscape restoration projects? How can we get financial partners to scale up landscape restoration projects? Patience, do you wish to start, and then Olupot can close it off?
Okay, you can, like for me now, the Nigeria Conservation Foundation has put up a call for funding in restoration of landscape. So that's another opportunity you can use to get funding for your project. So you just look at, and especially because of this UN ecosystem of restoration, there are a lot of funding that are coming up in that regard. So you can leverage on that and write something.
Olupot, please. Thank you.
Okay, so for me, when it comes to funding for restoration, like Patience said, there's a lot of funding out there, but the challenge is how do you tap into this funding? So I think the first one is to first ensure that your project is out there actually helping the communities, and you have a proof of concept, like you already have that we've been able to do ABCD, we need more funding to reach this other milestone, But then if you don't really have anything which is there, like visible for people to see, then you will not be able to actually access that funding. Then also the other one is increase your network, because most of this funding runs within certain networks. So how can they actually get to know who to fund? So an example is by being part of this platform which GLF is giving, you're actually increasing your network as an individual or as an organization. So that way they get to know that, oh, there is an Olupot somewhere in Uganda who's doing ABCD. Let's call them and find out more about their project, because they say your network is your network. So build that network and then you'll be able to access that funding. Yeah, thank you.
Your network is your network. Thank you so much for that. And I want to be gracious enough and still ask a very last question, but this time around I'll ask both the speakers to be brief. And someone else is asking, a participant is asking, how do we mobilize people for restoration, or should they start on their own? How do we mobilize people to join restoration work? Olupot, you can start. It's okay.
All right, thank you very much. Mobilizing people, so for me, I think at the end of the day, when you want to mobilize people, first of all, what is your own push to restoration? What is pushing you to do restoration? Because people will buy your story more than they will buy what you're doing. I don't know if you are well familiar with that kind of quote, but at the end of the day, if your story can pursue someone and say that, what this person is doing is this good, I can join them. So first start from you yourself. What is pushing you to move into restoration? Then once you can answer that question, then you can be able to actually get more people to also join you. Yeah, so for me, I think that's the easiest way I can put it.
Thank you. Patience, what are your takes on this?
Okay, for me, I started with my friends. So I was able to convince them on why we need to do the restoration. Because for my own restoration project, we are not being paid for it. It's a voluntary work. So I get to convince, I start with my friends that will be interested. I check around, so which of my friends will be interested in this project, then I sell it to them. Then I also try to link it to their passion, to what they will be interested in. So with that, I can be able to convince them to join in the project.
Wow. And with that, we are at the very end of our first Youth Daily Show. Thanks everyone To everyone who has been involved in this, thank you so much to Youth in Landscapes Initiative. Thank you so much to Youth for Nature. Thank you to Oluport and Patience and the team behind all of this. And most of all, thank you so much to all of you who have been watching us today. Please tune back at this afternoon at 1 p.m. East African time to learn more about how drylands and ecosystem restoration are an opportunity for youth employment. Now, before closing, I'd love to leave you with one quote from Dexter A. Daniels, a pioneering activist in the struggle for Aboriginal land rights and land rights rather. And she said, or Dexter said, that consistency is knowing that the immediate solution might not be visible, but the immediate next steps are always there, leading towards restoration. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and see you at the next Youth Daily Show. Bye-bye.